Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the DX Mentor, using social media to promote your club or event. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Bill, age 8B, the DX Mentor. Our guests are DX gurus that we can all learn from. Each episode can also be listened to in podcast format. Just search for the DX Mentor in your favorite podcast app. Finally, an episode schedule and more information can be found at aj8b.com/the-dx-mentor-podcast. Our guests for this podcast are Joe, W-A-G-E-X, and Kate, who is from a leading e-marketing company, yoursocialstatus.com. Joe and I will provide the questions, and Kate will be providing all the answers. So we're excited. Let's catch up with them as they start the discussion. I'm Bill, age 8B, and I have a couple of really excellent guests with me today, and the topic is promoting your club events with social media. Now, this is a little bit of a variation from our Welcome to DX and Here's How You DX, et cetera, topics, but we've had so many people over the years struggle with doing this correctly to promote their club and to promote their various events that I thought it was a really timely topic to have. In 2 weeks, we will have a follow-up to this, and we will have a couple of people from our vendors who will talk about how they do social media to promote their products and how you can leverage that as well. So again, I know this is a little bit off topic, but I really think it's an excellent opportunity for us, especially coming into the Hamfest season now and all the various field days and things that are coming up. I think it's a good time to do this. So I'm going to have our speakers introduce themselves, and then we'll flip over to our slides and we'll get into it. So Joe, why don't you get us started?
Well, thanks, Bill, and nice to see you again, Kate. I'm Joe, W-A-G-E-X, member of the Southwest Ohio DX Association. Been a member, I guess, 35 years now, and got involved with Bill doing these podcasts, and it has really been fun. Bill keeps us online, and it's going to be interesting to hear Kate today.
Okay, Kate, tell us about yourself.
Well, hello, I am Kate Evans, and although I don't have a call sign, I am the daughter of a ham, so that counts for something, I guess. And I have owned a marketing business going on 12 years now, specifically digital marketing. And it, as we all may know or may not know, it changes very quickly. And so hopefully I can shed some light on how to build your own personal audience or how to help you fill seats at events or fundraise using all of the free tools of that digital marketing offers.
And Kate, we know how to get a hold of Joe or myself, WAGEX or AJ8B. People go to the Ham Radio QRZ site. How can someone get a hold of you if they have a question?
You could head straight to my company website, which is yoursocialstatus.com. And there's a contact form there, or you can always shoot me an email, kate@yoursocialstatus.com.
And you guarantee to generate 1,000 leads for their event just by contacting you, right?
There are no guarantees in digital marketing, but I'll try.
So we're actually going to make this a multimedia podcast today because we also do this for YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and share our screens, and we put a few slides together. Joe, don't worry. There's only about 400 slides, so it'll go quickly.
I'll try to stay awake.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. So let's see what we come up with. Share, and hopefully, all right, boom. There. Can you see that slide now?
Yes.
About Kate Evans and your social status. Is that the same slide?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, Kate. So these are some of the companies you've done social media for.
Yes.
And you were a top 25 woman under 25 in 2018. So
yep, no longer under 25, but
yeah, I wasn't going to say that, but it happens to all of us. And you've spoken at some national conferences, et cetera. So we're in good company, Joe. I think we can get something done here today.
Yes.
So I'll advance. We're going to let the slides drive us today. So basically, the whole idea today is to say, what is social media? Because we all wonder what it really is. Why is it so popular? How can you apply it? And the other thing I'm really curious about is everything changes. Do we still need a website? So these are kind of some of the topics we're going to talk about. So for me, the first thing you have to do is you have to define the event, right? So we're going to use our DX dinner as an example. Every year, we host, the Southwest Ohio DX Association hosts a DX dinner. It's the Friday evening of Dayton Hamvention weekend. We typically have between 350 and 425 attendees, closer to 400 almost always. But we always break even. Our goal isn't to make a lot of money. It's to basically cover our costs. And when you put on a dinner for 400 or so people, there's a lot of expenses. So it's always a challenge to break even or make a little bit. Everything we make goes to the expedition, so we're not lining our pockets, but we sure don't want to lose any money. So anything we can do to generate a lead is pretty important. And I did get this from Kate. So the first thing you have to do is define what your event is. The second is to define your competition. So on that Friday night, again, the Hamfest, I would say the big day is Saturday, Sunday, but we're competing with the top band dinner or the 160-meter dinner. People are traveling in. There's other dinners going on, just hundreds and hundreds of activities. So why would somebody come to the DX dinner? So here's a few details to get us started. It's typical demographics for the ham population. It's typically Joe and I attending. It usually is not a whole group of 19 and 20-year-olds, unfortunately. And of course, the dinner is DX centered. I mean, that's what we do. That's what our interests are. We do have a varying range of experiences. So we have some people who have only been, chasing countries for a few months or a year, and other ones like Joe that's been doing it for 40 years. And there's a few more that do it even longer. So we've got a real wide range of folks that we're trying to talk to. So for the dinner details, we have door prizes. We have major, ICOM is our main presenter. We do have a keynote speaker. We announced the DXpedition of the Year, which is always anticipated. DXpeditioner of the Year, CQ Hall of Fame. So there's a lot of big DX activities that go on during this dinner. So there's lots of reasons that people would want to come there. But the question is, what's the best way? And historically, and Joe, you can correct me here, historically, it was either word of mouth, or we might, before emails, we would do mass mailers, or we would contact the ARL and try to get something in the National Ham Publication, et cetera. Right, Joe?
Yes, that is correct. Or we would send it out to bulletins, ham radio bulletins that come out either daily or weekly. And that would pretty much be our extent of PR. Yeah.
Okay. And so the lesson there, Kate, is that we really did communicate before social media. We just want to stress that it isn't like for 300 years we just sat here and all of a sudden we got social media and now we can talk. So this is where you kind of come in, though, because we're no longer in 1992, right? We're in 1923. I hope that's what this is. So what's the best way to get the word out? So from 30,000 feet, I'm going to kind of turn this over to you. Let me get to a slide. Oh, I guess when you don't go backwards, it's not a problem. So what is social media? And you don't necessarily have to read this. You can just tell us what social media really is.
Yeah, well, one of the funny things that you say about the flyers is that's been my job, is to convince a lot of people to stop wasting their money on the flyers, because it's been really hard to kind of bridge that gap. I would say there's about a 20-year span of professionals who were kind of stuck in that middle ground where they never really, maybe they were out of work during that time or in school, and they didn't really buy into the social media type of things. So that's been kind of my struggle over the past 12 years. I'm still convincing people that, yeah, you should get on TikTok. It's not just dances and it's not just this. So social media has evolved so much, from even when I started my very first Facebook profile when I was in college in 2004. So that's something where when we look at, I can't believe that's almost 20 years ago. When we look at the span of 20 years, social media is really come full circle. So it started with a way to connect with people through the use of online platforms that were very much like a message board. And that was really kind of the first social media. Even before Facebook, we had these online message boards. And now what it's evolved into is live real-time communication where you're able to reach an entire audience of people for free without spending a dime on any marketing, materials or outreach or anything like that. And so, the idea that social media is a way that we can connect with a brand new audience, and then we can also, pay for an extended reach. And it's becoming a way to engage with people through live video, through posted video. And now groups are coming back. So you're kind of seeing that intimacy coming back into social media as well, where people, it got very, very large, and now they want to shrink it back down, and they want to feel comfortable in those Facebook groups or those, those special type of smaller settings. So social media is going.
So I think this is coming up in a minute, but what is a good return on a quote campaign? So for instance, when I was at HP, we would take out an ad in like Electronic Digital Digest or something, and we put those little tear out cards in the middle of the magazine that people could tear out. They put their name on it and send more information. And we used to call those bingo cards. And if we would come up with a gazillion of them and we got a 4 to 6% return, we consider that a really successful. And now 4 to 6% now, that would mean if you send out 1,000 emails, kind of like what Joe just did for another campaign we're working on, and you only get 40 back, you're kind of scratching your head like, gee, where did I go wrong? What is a good return on any campaign independent of the platform?
You're right. Especially with the mailers, that's always a really good comparison. We would say a 3 to 5% return would be really good. And now what we're looking at with, even with our email campaigns, if you're below 25%, it says you're underperforming. So it's something where on ads, we're looking at a 20 to 30% return if we run social media ads. And the other thing that you have to think about with social media versus a flyer is social media is really easy to pester people and you never go away. Flyers, they can rip it up and throw it in the trash and they're done with you. So social media has some longevity to it that even if you don't see that return tied to a specific ad spend or a specific email, we also are able to nurture customers through those multiple points of contact over time. So there's kind of two measurements going on at the same time. You've got your instant return on investment, your ROI for a specific ad spend on social media, but then you also have, okay, maybe they didn't spend money, so we're going to move them over to our future nurture program where we're going to keep poking at them until they spend money with us. So there's two ways. And again, another reason why social media is so valuable, because you're able to nurture people for months or even years for free, or for very little cost.
It's funny you say that. I've been looking for that car extended warranty flyer I got, and
yeah, we're trying to reach you about your extended warranty.
Maybe they'll pester me again and I could sign up for it.
Yeah.
This was a quote that you passed along to me, and since we're on the podcast, I'll read it. And then if you would comment on it, it says, even when you are marketing to your entire audience or customer base, you are still simply speaking to a single human at any given time. And I think we forget that. It's like, I'll do a mailing campaign of 10,000 and you think of them as a group of 10,000, but you're really only targeting one person.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy to forget that, because the first rule of social media is do not sell with your content. It's a very big turnoff. You're immediately filed with spam in people's minds. They don't want to be sold to. If they follow you and they're interested in you, social media users feel that they're knowledgeable enough to make a purchase decision. So when you create content, you have to think about having an in-person conversation with every single person in your audience. And so when you create content, go ahead and ask questions. Go ahead and pretend that you're having this Zoom call, this Zoom interaction. Speak to people the way that you would speak to them in person with social media, and it'll get you a lot further.
Oh, good. That's great thought. And to your point, here is another quote from a Tom Fishburne. He said, "The best marketing doesn't feel like marketing." which is essentially what you said, right? So I'm giving you information. If you're interested, you'll follow me.
Exactly.
Cool.
Hmm. And of course, Kate, I came, being 80 years old, obviously I came from the old school. So in our business, years ago, we would have flyers that we paid thousands of dollars for. But back then it was 4-color process, which was a big deal. We could have this colored flyer rather than black and white.
Yeah.
And we would always go into an office or whatever and make a call, but it was on person one-to-one. And so, of course, obviously, thank God, things have changed like you're describing.
Well, and it's funny. I mean, I guess it's not a great thing to mention, but I'm 38, and if a phone number calls me that I don't know, they're headed straight to voicemail. And so, and the same is going now with my email. I think we're so exhausted. We have, digital content consumption exhaustion, where we just get too many emails and too many posts. So building personal relationships without having to speak to anybody face to face is really popular right now. People do not want to pick up the phone. They do not want to come live on video very often, but they want to still be a part of a community. So it's a really weird dynamic, but it's one of those things that, old school is kind of out, because this generation is just this 20-year span of people. They're not interested in interacting with other people, which is tough, but also kind of makes it a little easier on us too, I guess.
Sure. And I think personally it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, any more time is money too. And it's really easy to get hung up on the phone. And I see that even with a customer service phone line, where we're answering phones for a local client, and all of a sudden a 5-minute question turns into a 35-minute conversation. So there's the flip side of that too.
Well, the thing that has struck me is, and if you'll talk about this next slide, Kate, you had told me one time, consistency is key. What I'm really surprised at, not complaining at all, but we're in our 6th podcast now, and I can't believe the organizational work that goes into this. I mean, I'm in a 2-week window, and I got to get people lined up, and I got to get the subject matter out, and I got to get the next people lined up, and you got to have the topics, and then we're trying to do YouTube. So I'm not in any way complaining. I didn't quite underestimate it, but boy, to do it right and do it regularly is not easy. So do you want to talk about the consistency for a minute?
Yeah, and I've actually got a great example. As a social media professional, I personally struggled to practice what I preach with my own business. And so it was one of those things where I put all of my time and energy into my clients, which is good. But then I didn't follow through for my own business as far as being consistent. And now I've got a second business that I'm running, and in that business model, I have been extremely consistent. I've been posting twice a day. I've been going live 3 to 5 times a week. And I've grown to 11,200 followers in 5 months. So it's one of those things where I finally am reaping the benefits, the rewards of being consistent, of actually following the formula that I've been laying out for other businesses. So if you do one thing as a social media novice, it is please just pick. If it's going to be 2 times a week or 3 times a week, that's fine. You don't have to be there every day at the beginning. Just be consistent, because your followers are looking for something to rely on. And I noticed that there were a few times where maybe I was sick or I had something going on and I hadn't gone live on TikTok. And then I go live and the people are showing up saying, we were worried about you. We were wondering where you were. And so all of a sudden I realized, okay, these people are invested in more than just shipping supplies. They're invested in me and my brand and everything. So the consistency is what has gotten me to build this community. And now, the product's selling itself because we've got the community.
So you think you'll have time now to get your ham radio license? Is that kind of what you're saying?
I've thought about it. I think it would be fun. I was like, if I was able to learn how to drive stick, I think I can learn how to, be a ham. So it's one of those things where like not a lot of women do or know how to do. And I'd love to, I always try to conquer things that aren't stereotypically, women influenced. So we'll see.
Well, I used to have responsibility for over 200 websites that Kate and another guy and I together, the three of us used to manage these websites. And I learned a real hard lesson. And that is, if you're going to have a website and you're not going to keep it updated, you're better off not having it. And one of the first things I do when I go to a website is I go to the bottom and look at the copyright. And if it's, copyright 2013, then no one's paying attention to that site. And I don't really care what's on it. I'm gone. So that's my little quote. I'm the host. So I get to slip my own little quotes in there once in a while. So the approach we're going to take now, we've kind of talked about what social media is, but what we're really talking as far as promoting your event and your club and stuff is digital marketing. And as Kate has already said, we are really talking about building relationships. So even if you have 11,500 followers, you are still at any one point talking to one person. So the approach we're going to take, and Kate, correct me here if I'm wrong, is we're going to take a look at all the popular social media platforms that might affect your event. The other lesson I learned several years ago when we first started promoting the DX dinner, and it would have been 2016 maybe, is I tried to be active on every platform. And some of them, it just doesn't make sense. Hams just aren't that active on YouTube as far as promoting events at the time or whatever it is. So you have to pick that. But then on one hand, you can say it's not sales, but on the other hand, you have to give them a reason to want to come to your event, right? What's in it for them?
Yes.
So let's take a look at how we might do this. And Kate, if you want to talk about some of these platforms, that would be great.
Sure. So here's my biggest thing. And if you are an event coordinator or you have access to an attendee list, that is going to be probably your most valuable resource in getting started for social media. Because what you're going to want to do is identify your basic demographics. Is it, 95% male, 5% female? What is the average age range? If I had to guess, I'm thinking 50 plus, maybe 40 plus for the DX dinner. And so you kind of start drilling down on things like that. The other thing to consider, especially with hams, is that we're looking at an international platform. An international audience where a lot of businesses are focusing, inside the US. Ham, we can look internationally. And the reason I bring that up is Facebook here might be very popular for a certain age group. But then maybe in, Europe, they're bigger on Twitter or Snapchat. So there is so many different demographics to consider when you are looking at your platforms. And although I do have a handy dandy sheet that I might have included, I might have given, you can pretty much just Google, the demographic information for individual social media platforms, match that up with your attendee list, and that'll tell you where you need to be.
Yeah, I think I have that coming up.
I think so too. So that's what.
So we just displayed a really interesting slide. So Kate, how many people use social media in the world?
Well, and I think, so this is a 2020 stat. And at that point it was almost 4 billion. And I know that that's gone up. TikTok has taken the world by storm, especially since COVID hit. They purchased an old business and turned it into this platform that is exploding. And oddly enough, about 85% of my business's sales come from TikTok. So I would venture to say that number has gone even up from 3.7 billion.
That's really staggering to think about.
It is. It's almost half the population. Crazy.
Yes.
So at the time, in 2018 is when I have these statistics from, Facebook was the most widely used platform, but you're thinking maybe it's kind of trended over to Twitter or to something else, TikTok?
Yeah, I mean, TikTok is just skyrocketing. However, Facebook's making a bit of a comeback, especially because they own Instagram. They're trying to redesign and make it more attractive for influencers to be on social media or on Facebook. Facebook has also shifted its demographic. It started out with college kids back in 2004, and now it's like 40 to 65 is the age range for Facebook. So a good example would be my sister's 5 years younger than me, and she does not use Facebook at all. She only uses Instagram. And then we look at another 5 years before that, those people are on Snapchat and TikTok. So even if Facebook was good in 2018, it might not be good now. It just all depends on your demographics. But for hams specifically, I'm thinking Twitter and Facebook are your two spots. Probably Twitter, you're seeing better results from.
And here you go. I thought this was interesting too. This really supports what you just said. At this time, again, now this is from 2020, I believe. Between 18 and 29, 84% of the population was using social media. So you can't ignore it, right?
Right. And yeah, and a lot of people want to ignore it and then wonder why they're not getting sales. So
so the next slide we have up is it says that how much time is spent using social media. And the statistics show that it's 2.5 hours a day. Social media networks and messaging. Do you think that's true?
Yes, 100%, if not higher. And funny enough, I get a watch time report on my phone every Sunday. So every Sunday, this report comes from my iPhone, and it'll say, based on all the apps that you opened, here's how much time you spent watching digital content, so like Netflix or Hulu or Amazon. Then it'll say, here's how much time you spent on social media apps. Then they're like, here's how productive you were. And productivity apps would be like your email, or something like that that's work related. And so it's staggering. Like, you don't realize. Now I'm a little bit different because I work in digital, but it's about 7 to 8 hours a day that I am on my phone, just doing social media type stuff. So this number of 2.5 hours, 100%, because it adds up. And short consumable content is extremely popular right now. But what people don't think about is they watch, 200 to 300 video clips of these short clips, and all of a sudden they're at 2.5 to 3 hours on their phone.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a little scary.
Yeah. Have you seen families in restaurants where they're all huddled around the table waiting for their food and they're all on the cell phone?
Yes.
So, man, a couple times when Karen's been talking to the grandkids on the phone, and I've asked a question, I don't get a response. I've been tempted to text her sitting right next to her, but I haven't gotten that much courage yet. But it's going to happen. So. So this is interesting to me, is that mobile devices make up the majority of this. And I mean, it's 91, 92%. That would explain why a lot of these apps are now, I mean, Facebook, I still consider to be a browser app almost, right, on your desktop. But all the other ones are really much more tailored toward portable devices. So does that also factor into what your campaign should look like?
Yes. And, social media ads, if we talk about advertising versus just content in general, now have this preview window that shows you what your ad's going to look like on an iPhone, an Android phone, a tablet, an iPad. So it shows you everything. And this wave also came through for websites, where we're talking about responsive content, where your website automatically responds to the screen size. And we have to keep that in mind with social media. And honestly, funny enough, I have my phone here set up on another device because I was time-lapsing myself doing this interview for content later on. So one thing that you have to think about is you always have to be recording with your phone. And it's just one of those things that, people are interested in your everyday life. And this time lapse was going to be a part of my a day in the life post that I'm going to do later of here's what my day looked like. But it's all filmed on my phone. The cameras on the cell phones. I mean, this is an old phone too. This is a 3 versions ago, are good enough quality to film. So when we talk about everyone being mobile, use your phone to create content and you'll be good to go.
So Joe and I are going to be seen by your 11,000 followers.
Yes, you guys, well, no, so it'll be a side view. I didn't record you without your permission. It'll be a side view of me and my my podcast microphone. And I'll just do a little voiceover like, hey, I was on a ham radio, a podcast Zoom today. So that'll be my little voiceover.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, and I looked this up, I thought these were staggering numbers to me. So YouTube was the most popular content in social media. Over 2 billion users worldwide, 79% of internet users have an account. And this one I wouldn't, and I work in, findability and search engines and stuff. It is the second most popular search engine after Google. So that means that people go there for everything under the sun, right? Which is what they use Google for. They watch over 1 billion hours of video every day.
Gee.
I know, it's staggering. And 400 hours of video are uploaded every minute worldwide. So I assume that trend has not slowed down.
It's actually grown because YouTube adapted quickly. First of all, it's been a search engine for a long time, mainly because Google owns YouTube. And secondly, because to have a YouTube channel, you can create a Gmail account. Imagine that. So they let you create your Google account to sign up for YouTube and use those for their numbers. But the other thing is that YouTube has adapted and short form video has become very popular because everyone's attention span is this big now, and they want these bite-sized consumable content pieces. So YouTube introduced YouTube Shorts. And so you can scroll on your YouTube app and it has a similar feel to TikTok and Instagram Reels, where it's just short form video. And so like what I'll do is I'll record on my cell phone using my camera app. And then I'll take that video and I'm going to make one video, post it 3 different places. And all of a sudden I've come up with content for YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. So I would say that YouTube statistics have grown even more because they introduced shorts. So they're getting a lot more of a younger audience uploading more and more content.
Wow. So Joe, if I filmed you work in Vietnam and I watched it every day for a week, could I claim Vietnam for DXCC?
Yes.
It's just this. So there, I have friends at work who will spend the evening watching YouTube. I'll say, what in the world did you watch? And I remember one night he says, well, someone had told me about this 16-year-old, this little girl who's a terrific drummer. And so I watched her, and then I jumped over and I watched this, and all of a sudden I look up, it's 10 o'clock. So I just burnt 3.5 hours watching drumming videos. So,
well, and even further than videos, they are now creating actual episodes. So these content creators have gotten smart enough to essentially create their own TV show. And so they're loading up, they're writing these sagas. So my kids, we've had to do, we call it tablet time. So that way mom and dad don't lose track of the kids being on a screen for 6 hours. So in their allotted time, we have the YouTube Kids version. So it's a different app, still YouTube, but it's children appropriate content. But there are creators there, these kids shows, where they literally have a storyboard, a storyline. They split these stories up into episodes and the kids sit and watch them like it's a show on Nickelodeon or something. It is absolutely insane how much it's the online world of YouTube has changed.
So Kate, I'll get on YouTube because my lawnmower will not start. So I'll get on there and the guy explains why the lawnmower doesn't start. And it could be, they're relatively short, but it could be 5-minute video. So you're talking about a short YouTube. So what is the difference, Kate, between what I'm accustomed to watching 5 minutes to the short?
The YouTube shorts are almost like just quick clips. So they're about 20 seconds or less of video. And typically, like when I upload a YouTube short, it'll be like join me for a new product launch tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then Eastern Standard Time, and then I'll upload that. So it'll be just, but the editing in these apps is absolutely insane. All from your cell phone, you're able to edit your video clips, meld two clips together, add audio, add voiceover, add music, and upload it all for a 20-second clip, all from your cell phone. So that's what the shorts are. And typically you load them from your cell phone versus like the traditional way of uploading a video on your desktop or laptop.
So part of your business, you would do that for us, or is that something that individually we would do?
Both ways. So like for my marketing clients, getting them to, what I actually asked them to do is what I was just talking about. I asked them to just film everything and send me video clips, and then I put them together on behalf of the client. But then I also encourage them to film and post their own stuff just to get that authentic view too, because I can manufacture videos all day, but if it doesn't have their touch, sometimes it loses the effectiveness.
So what would be, and I jumped ahead on a slide here. So one of the things that all of us want to do with our DX event is to generate leads, right? What type of customers are you trying to reach? So I kind of made three bullet points. One would be active amateurs who want to find out what DX is all about, fairly experienced DXers who want to learn by networking with similar hands, and experienced DXers who can contribute back to the group. So what would I do surrounding the DX dinner to kind of attract leads based on this criteria?
So I would do a couple things. The first would be to continually build your email list, because email marketing, even though I previously talked about email fatigue, email marketing has made a huge comeback, and you just have so much more information at your fingertips if you use a program like MailChimp, where you can connect it in. And the great thing about building your email list is then you can use that email list in MailChimp and create targeted ads on Facebook that hooks into your MailChimp. So what it's going to do is it's going to target your entire mailing list, and it's going to build what they call a lookalike audience that finds people who have similar characteristics to your email list. So that's kind of one way to start reaching out to your different audience members. The other things I would do is take advantage. I always say, whatever social media platform you are on, take advantage of the tools that they provide for you. So if you have, so I know that Swadexa has a Facebook page, right? And on that page, when you go to post on your Facebook page as the administrator and the owner of that page, when you go to post a status update, one of the options is to create an event. So I would definitely create an event with all of the details and a link out to your website. That's going to be much more effective in selling tickets than just creating a status update with a link to your website, because Facebook does not want people leaving their platform. They do not want people jumping out of the Facebook app and going to a random website. They want to keep the users in the app, and they want, much like, a big thing that's coming into social media is search engine optimization. And so the main goal of any social media app is to keep you consuming content, because what drives those apps are ads. So they don't want you to leave their app, because they want you to see the ads that are being placed in between the newsfeed scroll. So the best way to take advantage of reaching people and getting them to check out on your website is to use the tools that Facebook gives you, such as creating an event where Facebook gives you a slot to put your link to purchase tickets. And if you notice, if you click on Facebook from an event to sign up, it pulls up a Facebook web browser. You check out on the website, and then you're back into the Facebook app. So use the tools that they give you, and I think that that'll help you. So build your email list first and foremost. And you can do that through free PDF downloads. Maybe you could say, you set up an email platform like a sign up that says, hey, if you'd like access to this consumable content that I'm going to give you for free, I'm going to need your email. And so if you can create some type of informational flyer, it doesn't have to be very long, in exchange for their email, but it does have to provide some value, because people hold their emails a little closer now. So for them to give up their email and they know they're going on your marketing list, they need to have a fair exchange. So those are all different ways that you can, find people in your different audiences, whether they're amateurs, experienced, or people that want to become even more involved.
To that point, every year I get mad because we just had another successful DX dinner, but we didn't really take any video of any of the presentations. We didn't take any pictures. So I really have no content where I can go back and say, look what a good time it was last year. Now, the other point, though, is we attend, Joe and I both attend a convention in Tennessee, SEDCO, the Southeast DX and Contesting Organization. And the guy that runs that, Dave K4SV, he runs around with his camera and he takes pictures of everybody. But what's his one rule, Joe?
You have to smile. If you don't smile, he will not take the picture, or if he takes it, he'll just delete it. You have to smile.
He absolutely, because he says, who wants to come to a website and see a bunch of people not having a good time? Yeah. So, Dave's he's got the right idea. I mean, that's what you got to do. So,
yeah.
So in our case, the other thing that you had pointed out is that you can go out and advertise, but if you don't have a way to collect your sales for a ticket, even if it's a prominently displayed phone number or form or something, that's a problem, right?
Right. Yeah. And, I think at the beginning of the presentation today, we even talked about, are websites even necessary anymore? Is that something that people are still doing? And I'm going to say yes and no. I think I'm in the middle here. I'm right in between the people that don't want websites and the people that do. So I see both sides of it, but there are tons and tons of small businesses who are using Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as their selling platform. However, if you really want to get serious about marketing, you are going to need a spot to collect data. And so I think having a very simple website is the way to go. I think that's the good compromise. Because if you think about it, how many people realistically, if you think about 95% to 98% of your website visitors are on their cell phone. So that there tells me that they're not going to sit and browse every single page of your website. And if you've got 50 pages and they're trying to drill down on all these tabs to find what they're looking for, they're going to leave. So the importance of having a very simple website that has the information they need and the spot to check out is the way to go. And having an event website is extremely smart because we know 100% that people are going there to buy a ticket or to, find information about that event. And it makes for a very good user experience when right on the homepage, there's a big yellow banner. They can click get tickets, they check out, they're done. Oh, that was a great experience. I'll come back. And that just adds to their overall customer experience.
Joe, how many websites did you go to? Was it last year we were starting to collect various contact information for clubs from the DX dinner? How many did you go to? You couldn't even get contact information.
Yes, I went through them, Kate, trying to figure out who we could email our information to. And the majority of the websites, and this is excuse me, a big thing with me. The majority of the websites never have a contact person or never have a contact phone number, or if they do, it's hidden, like you just talked about, on page 50. And I think I think it ought to be on page 1 because that's what I'm looking for. And the same with a business card. Back to the old school, the smallest thing on a person's business card is their phone number. And years ago, that's what we wanted to promote was the phone number, and you had to have a magnifying glass to read it. I always thought that was insane.
It is. It doesn't make sense to me. And I'm a big advocate for putting your basic contact info in the footer of the website. That way, no matter what page they're visiting, it's always there.
Yes.
And then, people don't want to put their emails on a website because of spam. So have a functioning contact form and you'll be good to go with that too.
Yes.
So we've gotten our word out, right? So we're advertising the dinner. And now we have a question from someone that says, hey, I'm a vegetarian. What can you do for me? So now we've moved into the customer service arena, right? So what are the challenges in the customer service part of the business?
Well, it's really easy to say how you really feel about something behind a keyboard, and that's what we have to deal with a lot of times now. There are people who are just, maybe one thing that was a slight inconvenience, and then they have a bad day, and all of a sudden they find 10 other things to be unhappy about with their experience with you. So that's where I actually think we have an advantage with social media. And I say that because we have an opportunity to respond to them. We have time to think about how we want to respond. We can carefully craft our response. So there's two parts to customer service that I'd like to hit on. One is, responding to negative feedback. The other is just being a part of the customer journey. So when we get somebody, we're all competing for them to sign up for our event, right? We want them to come to our event. We want them to spend their money on our event. So we want to make it as easy as possible. And I know I just said this about the websites, but even with social media, be very clear, concise. They don't want to read a lot of information. They really don't. They want to know the date, the time, the cost, and how it's going to benefit them. So if you can answer that question in a short, concise way that's easy for them to just click and check out, you're good to go. So that's the customer experience side of it. And then as far as, negative feedback, that's the advantage of social media, is we're able to create this community and nurture these people. So I typically, unless it's something completely off the wall and offensive, I typically say leave the negative feedback and provide a response of how you fix the situation or how you help them. Or my personal favorite is, Joe, I am so glad that we were able to come to an agreement and that you were overall ended up being happy with your experience. Really just kind of pointing out, like, we recognize that you maybe had a negative experience. We stepped in to fix it, and now everybody's happy. And that really helps with future purchasers too, where they're able to see that review out there and see how you handled it as a business. And that can make all the difference in the world. And then also just creating that community feel. So being present, consistently present on social media, responding to people's comments on your posts, asking your followers questions, engaging with them, they're going to feel a lot more connected to you. And it's a lot easier to build customer loyalty when they feel like they're a part of something. So all of those different pieces are now considered customer service, down to your responding to a comment on a social media post. It's all a part of nurturing that customer and keeping them loyal to your event or to your brand.
So waiting 2 weeks to respond to a irate customer is not a good idea.
Not at all, because you know what? They're going to leave Facebook, they're going to go to Google, and they're going to find every other platform they can to blast you.
Yeah.
So this is the handy dandy sheet I was talking about earlier.
Yep. So this is, and I'm gonna, I knew it. I went one too far. And again, since we're doing a podcast and
Video.
a video, yeah, sorry, YouTube and podcast, I want to explain it for a minute. So this is a chart that shows Facebook on the social media platform on the left. So it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, and Pinterest. And across the top, it lists the monthly active users, the demographics, the format, frequency, the best use, challenge, and marketing goals. So using this chart, like for the DX dinner, you start drilling down, you say, okay, who the people that are coming to the DX dinner are going to be mostly male. They're an older crowd. So which one of these can give me the most bang for the buck? That's always the question. So Kate and I really drilled down on this thing. And I believe what we determined would be Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, I believe, right? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And why did we choose that, Kate?
Especially Twitter, it is the most male-driven platform. And again, Twitter, I think, was one of the first as far as short form content. It was actually considered micro-blogging, is the official term for it. And it was a way for people to, if you're not familiar with Twitter, they had that 140 character limit on your message because their intent was to keep your messages short and sweet, but also post a ton of them every day. So for a ham, I think that this is a fantastic way. And I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's a larger community on Twitter, just from the standpoint of you're able to quickly post, I worked this country, maybe we've got this event coming up. You can follow each other, and it's like news content that's consumable and quick. So Twitter was a good way to go, just based on the demographics. However, Facebook, we also decided is a great fallback just from the standpoint of the ability to market your events. Facebook has so much information on all of us. And then if you hook in your mailing list, it's just the most cost-effective way to advertise to people and really reach potential new event attendees or club members, etc. And then YouTube is going to be a great way for you personally, or even as an event. So like the SWATEXA dinner would be a great way to, if we've got that video content, to put up those clips though and show the experience. I also love using YouTube as a storage spot for all of my video content. So YouTube allows you to upload videos that are private, and then you can host those videos on your website. So that, I'm sorry, YouTube hosts the video and then you display them on your website. So that's a great way to keep your website fast and have content stored on YouTube for free. So those three were the best spots for your particular demographic.
I have noticed, so there's a thing in ham radio that's become popular the last couple of years called Parks on the Air. So there's an organization that tracks, like next to us would be Caesars Creek. So I could go to Caesars Creek for a day. I get a certain, designation that I'm so-and-so at this park. And then people can talk to me on the radio and they get points for talking to Caesars Creek. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter who will then post, hey, I am now active at Caesars Creek on this frequency. And there's a lot of people that follow that. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a quick way to get people up on frequency, if you will, to kind of work them and work through this Parks on the Air thing. So they're getting very creative with how they use Twitter because it is so quick and so small. So let's talk about posting for a minute, because I looked at, if you remember 5 years ago, I started doing the DX dinners, like, well, what am I going to post? Okay, today I'm going to just tell everybody about all the cool things that, that ICOM's doing with us and how critical they are to us. And, oh, we got this other company that wants to give us QSL cards. We got this, tickets are going to go on sale. But you can't just do a whole dump, right?
Right. Right. And that's, I think, where these consumable content pieces, where they're very short form video and short posts, are actually going to help us. Because like I mentioned earlier, I filmed for about 10 minutes, a time-lapse video of myself on this podcast. And then I also filmed real-time video of me, speaking. And so I'm going to take those two clips and I'm going to turn them into 10 different posts. And I'm going to reuse the content as much as possible. So having a plan mapped out versus just dumping everything because you're really excited to start posting is the better way to go, because you'll then have content, to post consistently for 2-3 times a week, etc. And you'll be able to stretch that content a lot further.
So a little bit earlier, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, when we were talking about how to get more people to visit this podcast, your thing was A, be consistent, and B, anytime you're doing anything interesting, do a quick video clip of it. So Sunday night, I came down here to launch the previous podcast, and Nepal was on the air. So I thought, oh, I'm going to take a 20-second video of me not working Nepal, as it turned out. But anyway, I have a clip. I'm calling him. I have the screens and everything. And I've gotten more feedback on that than I've on any of the DX mentor podcasts that I pushed out. And I was really surprised. And it was things like, hey, you have a nice shack, or what kind of monitors are those? Or I'm also a Flex user. Are you a Flex? You know what I mean? So I learned a lot in that 2 minutes. I couldn't believe.
They're gonna
Yeah.
start calling you the DX influencer instead
Yeah,
of the
that's what they're
DX
gonna
mentor.
Yes. Yeah, that's me.
But
People are
it's
gonna come to me. They're gonna come to me wanting to know what island to go to next. Yeah, that's
pretty
what's
soon.
gonna
I
happen.
swear though, once you start going live more often, people are gonna say, "Oh my gosh, where'd you get your glasses? Where'd you get your sweatshirt? Where did you get that radio, that desk, that chair?" People are so interested in how other people live their lives, and I think that's the key difference between why that spur of the moment video got more feedback, because people don't want these carefully crafted marketing messages anymore. They want a window in to your daily life. And I think that's the big difference.
So to that point, Joe, you have the same look on your face that I do. It's like, so I'm gonna have Kate tell you a little bit. A couple of weeks ago, we get a notification that she's going live with her other business, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about packaging and the shipping materials and customized, shipping stuff. And I look at the video, it's like, why is she shooting this in her kitchen? So what did you do, Kate?
So instead of saying, "Hey, here are my beautiful poly mailers and tissue paper," I decided to switch things up and go live cooking dinner for my family. And so I'll show you quickly because I'm sure everyone will be so interested. I've got this massive contraption here, and it is a stand that holds an iPad and a cell phone and a gazillion cameras. And so I set this pole up on my kitchen counter, and I said, "Hey, everybody," and I went live under my business account. So not as Kate, but as my packaging company. And I said, "Hey, I'm not here I'll answer questions about shipping supplies because that's what I do. But I thought I would just invite you into my kitchen to cook dinner tonight." And so it was a short live. It took me about 35 minutes to cook dinner. They got to see from start to finish. They saw the end result. And then I said, "Okay, I'm going to hop off and go eat dinner." So it was a great live, lots of questions. New people are popping in. They're like, "Ooh, what are we having for dinner?" Or "What do you do here?" All of a sudden orders are coming through my website, and I'm like, "What is going on?" Because I've got this little ding. It sounds like a cash register every time an order comes through. So I'm like, my iPads are going crazy. It's because people were coming in, they were sucked in by my dinner cooking, but then my loyal followers who hop on my live every single time I come on, they know me so well now that they've started answering questions for me about my business. And so because I was busy cooking, my loyal followers, one in particular, Ashley, is saying, "Oh, well, Kate actually sells shipping supplies, her link's in her bio." So these new people that were coming in are all of a sudden getting, they're ordering, and I'm cooking dinner. So you never know what's going to draw your audience in.
I've been a little surprised at the follow-up. Even last night, you had a complete business online and people are saying, "Hey, how did that turn out?" Or "What are you cooking next week?"
And there were two people who said, "I tried the recipe and loved it." They cooked what I had cooked on live since I went live that night and told me that they made it. So again, all of that goes to building your community, building that personal relationship, speaking to people one-on-one, replying to people one-on-one, which really leads into our next point of social media it has become a huge commitment from the standpoint of, if you're going to go all in, choose one platform to start with to go all in on, and really commit to posting and then responding. So replying is just as important as what you post, because that person wants to feel heard. That's kind of the hip saying, if you need a new saying, is I want to feel heard. I want people to recognize me. They need that validation. So if you come back and say, "Joe, I am so excited that you'll be attending the DX dinner. I cannot wait to meet you in person." That's going to make all the difference in the world to them. They're going to feel so special. And I guarantee that they will seek you out at the dinner to be like, "Hey, I'm Kate. I'm the one who commented on your post," and whatever. So it really, really goes far to just spend a minute replying to that person, and then utilizing all of the information that you get. So I was talking earlier about the native tools to Facebook. We used to use third-party tools to review our reports. We don't even need that anymore. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, they all have native analytics that are so useful. And we could spend hours on that, but essentially you can now look at any post. And let's say that you have one post that gets a lot of engagement. You can go look at that post and say, what was the age range of the person, the average age range of the people that responded? What part of the country were they in? What operating system do they use? Are they iOS? Were they viewing my post on their cell phone? So all of that reporting is very important for how you're going to craft your future content, because you want to tailor it to your audience.
Do you think if Joe and I sat around the fire at the base of his tower and drank beer and talked about DX, people would follow that?
100%. What did I send you the other night? We have a family text, and I was scrolling through TikTok, and all of a sudden, this guy, and forgive me, you guys are going to kill me. I'm on a DX podcast and I don't know the name of it. What's the
bug, the keyer?
The key.
I'm so sorry. So he literally, it's just a shot of him, and in Morse code, all he is doing is spelling people's names. So somebody would comment and say, "Oh my gosh, my name is Caitlin," and he would go do whatever, and all of a sudden spell out Caitlin. And I'm thinking, and he had hundreds of viewers on TikTok, and he's gaining all this content, and all he's doing is spelling people's names. And so I sent it to my dad, and I said, "I thought this was you for a minute." He said, "Well, he was a little slow, but."
She used to at the old house, her room was in the basement, and when I was on a contest, she'd fall asleep to me, calling CQ or whatever.
So Kate, what I get from this so far is that everybody that's listening to this podcast and wants to do something, they just need to be themselves. Am I correct?
100%. That's how it's shifted. It went from this very formal, marketing-driven type of approach to now a very personal approach to using social media, and that will take you so much further. Just be yourself.
Sure, because they have seen you in your professional, in your business life, selling your products, and now they see you in the kitchen and they say, "Well, hell, this girl can cook. She's cooking for the family tonight."
Well, and they know that my family survived because they saw him on another podcast, so my cooking wasn't too terrible. But yeah, and I go live when we're out we've got Kings Island right near us, and we went to Kings Island, and I went live. I thought this is another opportunity to give a window into my world as a business owner, and that people can relate to. Like, I'm not a robot just putting out shipping supplies. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner, I'm active, whatever it is, and they get to see all these different parts of you. So that's what's so valuable about social media nowadays, is you can literally give people access to whatever you choose to show about yourself.
So the next slide we have is we took the information from, we identified our demographics. We identified what we wanted to get out of it. So then we set up what Kate calls a content creation calendar. Mm-hmm. And it's just a grid. And I don't normally start doing any social media for the DX dinner until March 1st. And it's in the middle of May, and it's not because it's close or far away. It's just that there's so many other things going on. I don't focus on it until March 1st. But I've already set this kind of a grid up, and it says, okay, for Twitter, I'm going to post 5 times a day. For Facebook, 1 time a day, one time a day, and YouTube once a week. So then on the left-hand side is the date, then the information in the middle, what I'm going to post, how I'm going to do it. And once I lay that out, now it becomes very mechanical. It's like, okay, I know today I have to do this, tomorrow I have to do this. And I think it used to be every night at 7 p.m. I would come downstairs and I'd just do this and I'd be back up in 10 minutes. But if I didn't have your layout, your schedule, your post, what to do, this would have been a massive task. And it's actually pretty easy. It just becomes kind of monotonous.
Yeah, and one of the best takeaways that I've ever had from a program that I carry with me is it's called 52 questions, and you could even do 26 questions. Essentially what you do is, we always talk about what's your customer's pain point and how can you solve it, right? So what can you do to make them purchase and fix their issue at the same time? And so if it's that they need an easy ticketing experience, then it's that. But whatever it is, so 52 questions or even 26 questions about your business, and you write them out, just different things that maybe people ask you or that they might want to know. So with the DX dinner specifically, it might be what's on the menu. Who are the speakers? What are the prizes? Maybe information about the hamvention. So you can tie it into so many different things and ask all of these different questions. And so then when asked and answered, all of a sudden you have 26 or 52 pieces of content that you now can post on all your various platforms. So if you're ever struggling for content ideas, just do a question and answer about your business. So many businesses already have an FAQ section that you can kind of mold into content. And then think about things that maybe people want to see behind the scenes. Who's involved with SWDEXA? Maybe a little bit of info about people on, do you guys have a board on the board or on the
Officers, yeah.
officers? Okay, so meet the team type of approach to it. A behind the scenes of here's what the Marriott looks like before, when they're prepping, and after. I'm sure they'd let you in to see the table setup or whatever it is. So just so much different things that people want to see that can still tie back to ticket sales. Something as simple as a set table at the Marriott, and it's like this seat's waiting for you. So just little tidbits that you can do for social media. And then yes, I use a spreadsheet because I'm more of a data, I'm not as much of a visual person, but certainly you could use like a calendar view as well. And even if you don't have this specific of a post, you can still have content ideas. Post a selfie in front of the Marriott today, or driving by, as you're driving by down by UD, and you take a picture and say, we're 4 weeks away or whatever. Just little ideas that you can put on your calendar. It will make your life so much easier when you're trying to come up with content for your event.
Wow.
Gee, I never thought about all this, Kate.
Well, and it's it's easy to forget because when you're so close to it, you're more driven of, you want to sell tickets, right? You want to fill seats. So you're thinking about, oh my gosh, what ad am I going to run? What email am I going to write? How am I going to get people to get here? And then you don't think about the little 2-second video clip of you driving by the Marriott 2 weeks before the dinner, 1 week before the dinner, creating those little moments of curiosity and interest in the event.
Yes. See, I have tunnel vision normally on this, and then you have brought the big picture. Open the camera lens up and let's look at this big thing.
Oh, good. Well, that makes me feel good because that was my goal, is to, help you look at it in a different way.
Yeah. So I think we're going to hire you.
I'll give you all the ideas I can think of for free. No problem.
I bet you could.
So one of the things that I have, when we did this virtual ham expo, I'd gotten a couple of emails from people saying they probably nodded off and missed this slide at the time, but they said, look, this is all great stuff, but our club just doesn't have any money to do these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
But Kate, the reality is really there's nothing we've talked about that costs a nickel.
The only thing that you're going to spend money on is if you decide to run social media ads. MailChimp is a great free email tool for up to 2,000 subscribers. So, and then honestly, if you're at 2,000 subscribers or more, you should probably be making money at that point to cover the cost of your MailChimp. And even at that, it's a very inexpensive solution for email marketing. Facebook's free, Instagram's free, Twitter, YouTube, it's all free. And then the flip side is, if you're consistently posting, especially on YouTube, and you can build your audience, all of a sudden those videos are making money for you. So you can start earning money per view on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and YouTube just by generating content. So you got to think about that too. And then, these are also great tools that have absolutely zero cost other than your time.
So just to be clear though, what we've been talking about so far is like I'll do a post for ICOM is our key sponsor, and they're donating a 7610 or a 705, or tickets are available. So those aren't what you're considering to be paid ads. Those are ads that I'm generating, right? Just to be clear. So there's no charge for those. So what exactly, when you say there's no charge except if you have paid ads, what does that really mean?
So we're talking about social media advertising. So if you go to Facebook and you create a post and you say, I'd like to spend $50 to make sure that 4,000 people see this post in hopes of getting them to sign up. That's what I'm talking about in ad money. And so that's called social media advertising. And you can do that on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It doesn't matter. You create the content and then you pay to have that platform show your content to more people who don't already follow your page.
So the one that I use a lot is Hootsuite. So once a week, I take that calendar starting March 1st. I'll take my content creation calendar, my CCC, and I will say, okay, this week I have, say, and I think honestly, even though it says 5 a day, I think I do 3 a day. So I'll do three a day. It is a lot, 3 a day, 5 days. So I will go ahead and schedule 15 posts on Monday, and then I don't have to touch it the rest of the week, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a great scheduling tool. It's free for up to 3 connections. I used to say 3 platforms, but that's not really true. It's 3 connections. So by connections, I mean, you hook up your Facebook page, you hook up your Twitter account, and then maybe you hook up a Facebook group or a LinkedIn page. So 3 connections are free. And honestly, when you're getting started, you don't need more than that. And the social media platforms have actually caught on to the layout of Hootsuite, and that people like seeing that week view or that month view. So Facebook actually offers natively now a scheduling tool that is almost identical to Hootsuite. I just think Hootsuite is more user-friendly. It's very direct. Facebook, you have to navigate through multiple pages to get there. So Hootsuite is a great tool that is free for you to get started with for up to 3 connections. And MailChimp too is fantastic.
You know what I like about Hootsuite for me is that since I've been using it for 5 years, I can go back and copy and paste old tweets that I put out there and just edit it with current information. So it's like I probably spent more time getting started with this than I have since, right? Maintaining it, and because content creation is just not easy.
Yeah.
The other thing, and maybe you can give a little coaching here. The other thing I struggle with is no one's going to want to watch me try to work Nepal. No one's going to, because you keep telling me all the time, anything you do that might be of interest. So I'm thinking, we've had these high winds come through. So I'm going to go back in the woods this afternoon while it's still bright. I'm going to check the 160-meter vertical I have. So I'm probably going to put my camera on and just walk back there and say, hey, I'm checking the 160-meter vertical. Look at that. Everything looks good. Let's go get on 160 or whatever it is. And you think that's a good idea, and people would be interested. And that's kind of the hurdle I have to get over, is that people really do find that interesting.
We call that imposter syndrome, where you feel like you're not good enough or that you're not interesting enough for people to want to watch it. So you back down from that content. So let me show you something, and this is not a brag in any way. I have my TikTok account that I'm proud that I've built in X amount of time for my other business. So I post videos, 1 to 2 videos every single day of the week. And then I go live on that platform as well. This particular video has 100,500 views. It's the most viewed video I've ever had. And it is me right here in my car laughing because I purchased a inflatable snowman that rides in the front seat of my car. So I found this at Walmart, this blow up snowman. He just plugs into the cigarette lighter. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to film this. I'm going to put it on my TikTok account for my business. I couldn't stop laughing as I saw him like inflate, and he's like waving out the window. And it went viral. And that was something that had nothing to do with shipping supplies, but it really built my community. It got me over the 10,000 followers I needed to start making money on TikTok. So you just never know. I told my dad too, film yourself making coffee, film yourself walking downstairs into your room, film your setup, your equipment. People are interested in everything about your life that's not theirs. They love that little window into your personal life.
So I'm going to get, Kate, I'm going to get one of those cameras that you put on
Yes.
your.
I'll send you a GoPro, Joe, and you
GoPro. I couldn't think. I'm sorry.
But-
Get me a
just remember
GoPro.
to turn it off when you go into the bathroom and go to bed. Then we'll be good.
No, I'm going to keep it on in there.
Well, you might get the wrong kind of followers.
See,
Oh.
he does go to the Bahamas once or twice a year.
Yeah.
So he could film the setup, he could film working people, he could film.
Yes, there are so many. And I always say, and this is just for anyone listening, if you're feeling overwhelmed by all of this, make it easy on yourself. It doesn't have to be this long professional video. It literally can be 5-10 second clips. Your camera roll will just be tons and tons of videos, but then you'll have so much to pull from. And you don't have to film the entire process. It could be a snippet here, a snippet there, a snippet there. You put it all together in the app and it looks like you filmed your whole day when really you spent 2 minutes taking a bunch of small clips. So it does not have to be this huge task.
So coming down the stretch here, one thing that I still not sure I fully understand are hashtags, hashtag keyword.
Mhm.
So when do I overuse them? When do I use them? Which ones do I use? What if they don't exist already? So give us a 1 minute, everything hashtags.
Okay, I'll give you the quick rundown. So essentially everything on the internet, and I mean everything, websites, social media, videos, photos, everything on the internet comes down to search engine optimization. What search engine optimization is the identification of classifying information when you search on Google. So if you are searching for the best new radio, okay, and whatever you type into Google, they want to answer your question. They want to give you the best search result and hope that you click. So search engine optimization is saying, hey, I'm Kate and I have this radio that you're looking for. So I better use the keywords, the hashtags that describe exactly what my item is. So if you're searching for my item, it's going to pop up so that you can buy it. And that's what hashtags are, is they are keywords that describe your item, your website, your event, whatever it is. And hashtags are extremely valuable in especially TikTok they just changed their algorithm again. Twitter is constantly changing. Facebook's constantly changing. So I always use this rule of thumb. If you are trying to figure out which hashtags to use for your post, think about what would you type in the search bar if you were looking for the content that you're posting. So if I'm posting a video of my new microphone and I want people to buy this microphone because I sell it, I'm going to describe this as many different ways as possible while still being true to the object. So I don't want to stuff a bunch of hashtags that sells something else that's not a microphone. I want to say white microphone. I want to say blue microphone, podcast microphone, just podcasts. So there are all different combinations that people might type in that will then pull up search results for this particular microphone. And the same is going to go for your hashtags. And as far as how many to use, I typically use 3 to 5. So I'll use one that is very, very specific to my audience. So I'm going to say white podcast microphone. So that's 3 descriptive words that are very specific. Then I'm going to use a very general term like podcast microphone. Then maybe just hashtag microphone and hashtag blue, like the brand name or something like that. So you kind of want to think of it as a funnel. You want to try and reach that broad audience, but then you also will find that you're much more successful in converting sales when you're very specific. And so when I have a very specific niche that I'm filling, although my following might be smaller, those people are going to have a higher conversion rate because I'm reaching exactly the people who I want to reach, and they're going to be the ones that hit the purchase button. So hashtags are just descriptive keywords. Every platform varies. Like on Instagram, you can post up to 30. TikTok, you can post a ton, but they really want to keep it around 5. So it just depends. And there are plenty of, there's a website called What's Trending, or you can just Google trending hashtags to start getting ideas. Probably the best way to research it is to research your competition or people that you're following and see what they're posting in their posts, and that'll give you a general idea too.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
So what I'm really trying to do is get qualified leads. So if I get 50,000 people, but only 300 of them are hams, I'm going to waste a tremendous amount of time. But if I can get 400 leads and 3 of them are hams, I'm much, much better off.
Yeah, when we're talking about a conversion, where somebody's purchasing something, that's true. But again, social media has changed so much that broader following is also important. If you want to start making money on the content that you're posting, you do need that broad audience. But again, they still have to click the watch button. So they still have to be somewhat qualified. You don't want to just randomly grab whoever you can, because it's going to end up hurting you in the end.
Well, what I did a couple of years ago was, after we started this campaign, I went to all 36 tables at the DX dinner. And basically I said, so this was in 2019, so the results would have been from 2018. And, or I might be off a year because of COVID. I don't think so. Anyway, I said, hey, how many of y'all, use social media? It's very, very informal. But between the 2 years, it had gone up significantly. So between 2018 and 2019, it went up 25%. And between 2018 and 2019, the ticket purchase on Twitter and Facebook went up 4 times. So I suspect this year, I'm going to do the same thing, and I'll bet it's significantly higher. I've already gotten a couple of direct messages on Twitter, even to the DX Mentor podcast, because I have mentioned the DX dinner. And you get those kinds of messages. So I've been really surprised, and you keep telling me not to be. You expected it, so good for you.
That's great. That's great feedback, and that's valuable information to have.
Very smart.
So real quick, what formal analytics are there? Because one thing that it's one thing to have a campaign, and it's another thing to find out if it's working or not. So I kind of, unfortunately, when people watch this on YouTube, they're going to see that I jumped ahead. But just quickly, what kind of formal analytics would you, if Swadex is all in on the dinner and we're going to do all this stuff, after we're done, what should I be doing to find out what worked and what didn't work?
I think the biggest thing to look at, there's going to be 2 areas. So you're going to want to look at your social media analytics that are built in with the platform. So you're going to go to your Facebook page, you're going to look at the insights, and you're going to look at your posts specifically. So we're not going to care about how many new users you got or new followers that you gained. We're going to look at, did people comment on your post? Did you respond? And did they purchase? And then you're also going to look at, you always want to look at your demographic information. Were they male, female? Were they in the United States or outside? How old are they? Those are the big ones if you're getting started. The other platform that you're going to watch very closely is your email. So if you do use a tool like MailChimp, they are built right in. It is awesome. You can actually go to the individual email and see the performance. They will give you suggestions for free about your subject should only have 1 emoji or should be longer or shorter. Your email is, they clicked here and here. There's actually a click map that shows you where they clicked on links in your email. There's so much valuable information that is free to you. But those would be the top 2. Look at your social media insights at individual posts, and then look at the analytics on the individual emails.
Wow. You could almost make a living doing this, huh?
Almost, but it's funny. I do this for a living, and then I don't get on social media for my personal self. I'm exhausted by the end of the day.
Well, what's the old phrase? Physician, heal thyself, right?
Right.
So I think this is some information that we were looking at on Facebook.
Mhm.
who viewed the section of your page, where your pages come from, how your page is doing. So there's so much information out there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm just going to jump through these. If something jumps out, let me know. What I was a little surprised at again was video. And if you go out and Google, you can literally Google YouTube video servers. And there are some videos out there that show you how much storage space are in these super secret Google places, right? Where they have data centers that are 15 floors and it is just packed with server after server after server. And they're doubling it every year or two. I mean, it is nuts how much video's out there. So here's what, and Kate, you remember when we first started the social media program at where we used to work, and we stayed away from words like social media, but we started using words like findability, right? So that people could say, here's our product and here's how they're going to find it. But we kept getting pushed back on, well, we need to know if we're going to commit someone to do this, what is the return on our social media investment? And we can never really tell them, increase your sales are going to increase 10%, 15%, 20%. You can never tell. I mean, you don't know. You just don't know what SEO and those things. But what always drove the argument was, what if you don't do it, but your competition does? So if we don't do social media for the DX dinner, but Top Band dinner or some of these other things that we're competing with, if they're out there really blitzing everybody, they're going to get these people that are following in and we're not. Is that still kind of the case? There's a danger in not doing this?
100%. And very quickly, I'll say I've got a client who, she owns a business that relies, it's an event driven business where she relies on people coming in to her space. And so she would look at this monthly ad spend and be like, oh my gosh, you spent, $300 on ads. And I'll say, we can't look at that because look at your ticket sales. Okay, you had 80 more people show up this month because we spent the $300. If we hadn't, you might have only had 20 people show up and then you're losing money. So it's what's great about ads is you can directly connect the ad spend, the social media posts, the link click to executing or purchasing on your website. What you can't tell is what people might have done. And so that's where, it's like we've got this great information and we know that if we spend the money, we're going to see a 10% increase in our attendance. We have to spend the money because it's just going to continue to build year after year. You're growing your attendee list. You have more people to market to. You're going to take video at your dinner. So you've got video to show next year to the new attendees, et cetera. So there's so much that's going to build on top of each other.
There's a slide up about YouTube, and YouTube's been the one that I've just now started. I have to admit, every day at lunch, I'm usually on YouTube. I have subscribed to some channels and I'll see what's updated with them. Some of them get updated daily. Some of them don't get updated at all. But we have gotten a lot of hits on the DX Mentor podcast. I was surprised how many people will sit and watch. And our podcasts are kind of long, right? They're an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, and people are still watching it. So I've been really surprised by that. So kind of in our final slide, I just want to kind of review what we've done as we wrap up here. And I'll read this off, and then if either of you have any comments or input, that would be great. But the calls to action are, you have an event you want to promote, right? So the first thing you need to do is identify the expected demographics of the people that you would like to come there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then you have to decide on the social media platforms. Now, what you said earlier, and you've told me before, if this is your first rodeo, just pick one, because it really, really is overwhelming as can be. If you had to just pick one, if you didn't know the demographics and you had to pick one, what would it be?
I think the easiest to get started on is Twitter. There's no profile. There is a very small profile. It's the easiest to get posting. And it's the easiest to follow other people, figure out hashtags, et cetera. Then I'd move to Facebook.
Okay. Then the next step is, of course, you have to create accounts. So for the DX Mentor podcast, we had to create an account to allow us to podcast. And then we had to create a Gmail account, a YouTube account, a Facebook account, Twitter account. What else did we do? I can't remember, but we got all those set up now, right? So they're out there operating.
Mhm.
It really doesn't take long. It's just understanding what you need to do.
Yeah.
So like those things you want to share. Tell me about that real quick.
So when you're creating content, you do want to follow other people, you want to engage with other people, and you also want to make sure that you're always giving as much as you're taking, essentially. And you're going to see that you'll start to build a following, you'll start to learn the platform, and you'll start to really come up with some content ideas. And even following like other ham clubs, I always like, even with my competitors, I always call them referral partners, because for me, I like to follow them, befriend them. We kind of come up with the same content ideas, but it's still my own. So it's never a bad idea to, do a little bit of investigative work first to figure out how the platform works and what type of content people are responding to. And then maybe that'll start triggering ideas in your mind of, oh, somebody really liked watching Bill make his coffee, so I better make a coffee video or whatever it is. It'll start giving you ideas.
But in our case, so the DX Mentor, which is basically Joe and I, our account, we follow our friend Bernie, the Daily DX. So every time I post something, he retweets it, and he has 30-some thousand followers. So that's basically a free ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's that importance of those like referral partners, of connecting with other brands, supporting them, and they support you right back.
Okay. Well, and I retweet his stuff to our 200 users. So
hey, you'll get there. It doesn't, it takes time.
The social media activity planner, if anybody's interested in this and they want to do this, that has been the game changer for me, because I was so overwhelmed. But once you lay down a grid and say, I'm going to do this many posts on these 2 platforms, and I'm going to do this many a week, and then you start putting a date down and the things you're going to post, it really becomes mechanical. I don't lock into that. So if something comes up, there's a DXpedition, I'll easily drop other stuff in there. But it's nice just to have a map so that, if you can sit down and do it, do it. So I think that content.
I'll interject. If you're listening to the podcast, hop out to the YouTube version of this podcast. I will give you a link to, I've got like 30 free event content ideas that I will share in a link of the description of this YouTube video. You guys will be able to download that for free, and it'll just give you content ideas if you're trying to get people into your event. Like I had mentioned earlier, we're driving by the space. Here's what the tables look like, 1 week away, all those different ideas I'd be happy to share in the description of this YouTube video.
So you're using us as content.
Yes.
Well, don't forget my check.
Yeah, the residuals will be great. It's like 20 cents a week.
It all adds up over time.
Yes, I guess.
So the final call out to action is get going, right?
Yes, you just have to start.
That was really interesting, and I learned a lot. I hope you did too. Thank you for joining us on the DX Mentor today. Also, thanks go to our gurus on this podcast, Joe, WAGEX, and of course, Kate from YourSocialStatus.com. Each episode can also be listened to in podcast format. Just search the DX Mentor on your favorite podcast app. And an episode schedule and more information can also be found at ajb.com/the-DX-mentor-podcast. I would love to have your feedback, answer your questions, provide help with any DX or amateur radio issue you have, or provide clarification on any of the things we talked about today. You can just reach out to me at thedxmentor@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at thedxmentor. Please drop me a line if you've achieved an all-time new one, you've received recognition, or you have a DX event that you would like us to mention. We would be happy to do that. 73 for this episode, and Thanks to my XYL Karen for her love and support.